Okay, everybody, we are back. Technical difficulties. It's all good though. I was reminded today is the first day of Scorpio season, so maybe that has something to do with it. I'm a Scorpio. My birthday's Friday. So we're going to just lean and rock with it. We're going to do take two and see how it works. So let my guest and I try to share. Okay, and it looks like we're good to go. And so we're going to share. So give us a second again. This is take two. We're going to go back to our pages and try to share it. But I do hear feedback. Where's that coming from? Yeah, it is coming from my laptop. So should I? Is that better? I still hear it too. And yours is muted too, right?
Mine is muted.
So I'm not sure.
Anything? No feedback?
No feedback? Okay. All right. So take three. No. Okay. So let me let me try to share it with my page again. And it is what it is. We'll work it out. I put the time just because that's the time I put, not because of anything else. So I'm typing in the information. Joining me in the studio to talk all things Tantra. Okay. Thank you for your patience. I was able to find your page yesterday, but it's not coming up today. There it is. Okay. All right, here we go. We're going to try this again. All right. So now do we need to do that again for radio too? Or where do I need to start from? Oh, starting all the way from the top. Okay. Hold on. I'm getting my script up. All right, I'm ready. Now I hear the feedback. Oh. Welcome to the Sanctuary. You're listening to DC Radio 96.3, HD4, and DCRadio.gov. I'm Wendy Cherry, your host, and we are back for season 2 of the Sanctuary Radio Show. So welcome to the Sanctuary. Today, we are talking about a topic I've recently been studying, and it's called Tantra. And my guest is Prandhara Prem, an International Tantric Holistic Therapist, Relationship and Sexuality Coach, Ordained Interfaith Minister, Reiki Master, and Rebirther. So I want to hear about what all that means, okay? She earned a master's degree in counseling psychology here in the U.S. and a postgraduate degree in transpersonal therapy in Brazil, which is where she also lives, plus a certification as a shamanic medicine woman. And I want to talk about shamanism because I'm still studying that and trying to understand that. And she has a certification as a tantric therapist and rebirther, and a certified relationship and sexuality coach. So that's a lot.
That is
welcome.
A lot. Thank you.
Welcome
you
to the Sanctuary. So we've been talking about getting you here for many months now. So yes. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for bearing with us with these technology issues, but that's how it goes. That's how it goes. So we're all good. So for any of you who are joining us, who are on Facebook, please ask any questions you have and give me some thumbs up and some hearts and everything so that I know that you are watching, because we can't tell. So just let us know that you're here. So let's talk about Tantra first. And then I also want to talk about Prandhara. She also is an expatriate of the United States living in Brazil, which is amazing, which is awesome. So I want to talk about that. But because Tantra is so so broad, I really want to start there. Is Shane coming back? Oh, okay. It's feedback. Okay. So I want to start there, and I just want to talk about my experience. So I started off with Tantra because, for anybody who listens to my show or has any experience with me at all, that I suffered for many, many years with female issues, had surgeries and all these types of things, and nothing was helping. Changed my diet, exercise. I did all the things that doctors and holistic doctors and energy doctors told me to do, and still nothing was helping. So I was introduced to Tantra. Now, in my mind, I just thought Tantra was just straight sex.
Right.
And I could see like photos of ancient people in very sexual positions.
Kama Sutra.
Kama Sutra and all those types of things. So I was like, I don't know. But then I started taking a class. So I started a class in March, and it was a 12-week class. Shout out to my teacher, Emmanuel Taylor, for introducing me. So I took level 1 of Tantra, and I learned so much about myself and about my body. And so I feel like now I walk through the world with a whole different lens about my humanness. Sex plays a part, but just my humanness and how I'm connected to the world or how I'm disconnected from the world. So tell me how you became a Tantra teacher and a little bit about your journey that brought you to that point.
Right. And it's so interesting. I want to touch based on what you were saying about, when you heard about Tantra, you vision the sex positions.
Right.
And so here in the US, in the Western world, when we hear Tantra, we automatically think about sex, tantric sex. Why is that? Because we have so much repression.
Right.
So much repression when it comes to sex. We grow up hearing that sex is wrong. It's a sin. It should only be for procreation. So that's the only thing we think about.
Correct.
But Tantra is so much more. We do have tantric sex, but that's like 5% of what Tantra is.
Right.
There's a whole nother 95%. And Tantra comes about to help you to become present, focused, and aware of your body.
Yes.
And it's also about learning to become more intimate, how to have more intimate connections with other people. Yes. And so a lot of my work as a psychotherapist, my background as a psychotherapist, I love Tantra because it works at really getting at those blockages, the traumas that's in our bodies. And a lot of us, we have trauma stored in our bodies, in our cellular DNA. So not just from us, but our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors, and especially people of African descent, African Americans here or Afro-Brazilians, what have you, because of the slavery background, where our ancestors have been beaten, raped, all of those traumas, it stays in our cellular DNA.
People don't realize that.
No. And so through my work with rebirthing, and Tantra, it's a lot of, if you look at any of my videos or pictures online, people look funny because they're like shaking and screaming, and people are like, what's going on? But we're doing a lot of body work to release. And there's a great book by Peter Levine. It's called something like Awaken the Tiger from Within.
Okay.
And he's a specialist on trauma, and he talks about how we hold trauma in our bodies. But the animals in the wild, like the tiger, they shake. Okay. And when they're shaking, they're releasing those traumas that's in their bodies, but we don't do that. So if you have pets, cats and dogs, they shake a lot, they're moving.
Right.
So they're also releasing traumas. And so when I started working with Tantra, a lot of our workshops, our activities is shaking, yelling, screaming, releasing.
Okay.
Tantric massage is also helping you to learn how to touch and be present with your body.
Right.
So many people, we grow up in a world where we're learning about sexuality through porn.
Right.
And so men learn through porn. And so they don't know how to touch a woman.
Right.
We don't know how to connect. And so through Tantra, you're learning how to build that intimacy, how to connect without the end goal of having sex.
Right.
Right. Sex is great.
Well, so that's one of the things that I've been, that I've been learning through my integrative training too, is that especially in the West, we are affection starved.
Oh my God.
We're affection starved. You just don't necessarily get a hug or an authentic, feeling a touch from another human being unless they're ready for sex.
Exactly.
So a lot of wives are affection starved, and probably husbands too, because they're going to get that tap on the shoulder. It's not going to be to snuggle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to be for sex. So a lot of us are affection starved. So it's very important to give authentic hugs. So like I went to my school's homecoming this weekend, and I was very intentional about not trying to do them side hugs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted the full heart to heart,
Yes.
real touching, real hugging. Luckily for me and my sorority, our big sisters taught us to hug. They like, don't give us them fake hugs.
Right.
So I learned to just give like a good embrace, and let it sit for a minute.
Yes.
Because people are uncomfortable, with embracing people.
Yes.
So yes.
And doesn't it feel good?
It feels good.
When I first, I started living in a Tantra commune. And when I first got there, oh my God.
No,
when I first got there, we would give those hugs and we would hug each other, which felt like 30 minutes.
Right.
It would be a long hug. And at first I was like, oh my God, like get away. But then when you're holding, you start to melt and it feels good. And what happens, it's been proven that when you hug someone for like 3 minutes, it increases the oxytocin levels. The oxytocin levels helps you to feel good.
Right.
It's the feel good hormone.
The pleasure center. Yeah.
Yes. And so through touch, and this is one of the things in Brazil, when I moved to Brazil, everyone is touching. So this is like, why are we sitting so far away from each other? And they're hugging you. And at first I thought, these guys are interested in me, but they weren't.
Right.
They're just touchy feely. And
that's
I'm
their
like,
culture.
Here we don't touch each other. We don't touch enough. And so Tantra is a lot about that eye contact, looking into each other's eyes.
Because this is a meridian, isn't it? Like a meridian of health. So just eye to eye. That's why people can't look each other in the eye, because it's very uncomfortable because the energy exchange.
And they say the eye is the seat of the soul.
Right.
What you're really seeing into that person.
Right. And it's
but not only are you seeing into that person, you're seeing yourself, because we're mirrors of each other. Right.
True that.
And so that's how, when you're doing these tantric activities, you're looking into each other's eyes, you're touching, you're making connections, and we're learning how to be present in our bodies and how to really connect with other people. And Tantra has so many different meanings, but one of the meanings is weave of connections.
Weave of connections.
Yes.
Okay. Weave of connections.
Yes.
Okay. So now, where did you grow up? You grew up in the United States, right?
I grew up in the United States. So I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
And my parents are Haitian.
Okay.
So I grew up to Haitian parents who were Catholic. So I grew up Catholic, had that Catholic guilt.
Yes, ma'am.
Moved to Florida, then moved to the DC area.
Okay.
And so I lived most of my adult life here in the DC area and started my private practice here as a psychotherapist.
So now you knew that what was going on within you that attracted you to these types of modalities. And what did your mama say?
Right. My whole family thinks this is crazy.
Yeah.
They're like, Tantra, what? Right. Like, what are you doing? And they just think it's about sex. And, and so I remember the first time I put a video about Tantra, my sister calls me up. She's like, they're naked. You're working with them and they're naked. I'm like, yes. But what are you doing for protection? I'm like, I'm not having sex with them.
Right. Right.
And so, but so many of us, we have that with nakedness, with bodies. We're so repressed. So for me particularly, I grew up in a Catholic family, wanting to be this good child, to wait until I got married and not have sex because my parents would know and they would kill me. And I just had all this, and so when I went to college was the first time I actually had sex. Okay. And when I was in the relationship, my boyfriend thought I had been raped or abused because I had so much pain.
Yeah.
I couldn't enjoy it. And it was because of all of that repression, all of that guilt in me. I couldn't allow myself to enjoy. And I would go to the gynecologist and she couldn't do anything. She was just like, oh, try different positions, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying different positions, but it's still hurting. So we didn't get to the root of why I was having this pain.
Okay.
And it was a series of things. I've always had irregular menstruation cycles from the time that I started, 11, 12 years old, a lot of pain. At 15, my doctor was recommending to go on birth control pills, but I didn't want to go on birth control pills at that time. So many different things. And just growing up in this masculine energy of world, a patriarchal system,
Right.
I was constantly taught to do, you have to be successful, you have to do this, have to hustle. And so I just had so much anxiety.
Right.
And but these are not things you talk to your family about. You got to be strong.
Right.
So I'm not talking to my family about, I have painful sex, I'm stressed. And so I decided to go to a naturopathic doctor, and she's like, you can't go on like this. Like, you need to do something. And I happened to read Eat, Pray, Love.
Okay.
And that was because one of my clients told me she was reading the book.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, let me read this so I can understand my client better.
Right.
And after I read it, I'm like, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
And I closed down my private practice, and I decided for a year, I'm going to go to India and then Argentina to study Spanish.
Wow.
And that Argentina ended up going to Ecuador, Colombia, Chile, and then Brazil.
Wow.
And when I got to Brazil, I just fell in love with Brazil, the culture, the people, just how loving they are. And, they know you, they connect. And it's like, if you're traveling for 2-3 days, you come back to the grocery store and they're like, where have you been?
Oh, wow.
And they call you by your name.
Right.
And they hug you and they touch you. And it was just something I never got in the US, and so it was just like, oh my God.
Right.
You feel good.
It's interesting, even just the cultural change. So I was raised in Jersey, and my parents were raised in the South. Both my parents were raised in Virginia.
Yes.
My mom in particular was raised on the eastern shore of Virginia. So when my sister and I were little, we'd sit on the porch and just throw up our hand. It was a joke to us because there, the culture is you speak to everybody. They know you and you know them, and you go to their house when somebody passes and you bring a cake and all that. Now in New Jersey, we didn't do that, right?
You can't even look in somebody's eyes.
Me and my sister, we would be thinking it's hilarious. Hey, and we'd be like, Granddaddy, who is that? So then I went to college in Virginia, and I got the same kind of love, but they would tell us up, they used to call us the up top people. Y'all from up top, because y'all have that, like, because we just didn't. It took some time for me to learn how to hug. So go to work in Harlem. First job out of college, and I'm on the train like, hey.
Yes.
But then I knew I had to like pull it back in because people were thinking I was crazy.
Right.
And then I maybe wasn't safe because I'm a 22-year-old in Harlem at 10 o'clock at night leaving the Apollo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I had to like pull it back in, but I really enjoyed being with my grandparents and saying, hey, I really enjoyed being in college at Virginia State University and people giving me hugs and people like knowing my name and all that kind of stuff. So it's just our culture. We're hustling, we're bustling, we're moving so fast. And so from my studies, just level 1, just real easy breezy. I learned that we're so disconnected from our humanness.
Yes.
So talk some more about that.
We are, unfortunately, it's almost like we're programmed to be robotic.
Yes.
So you have to do this, you have to do that. We're not feeling. We don't know what we sense. And that was one of the things that I went through. I didn't know what I was feeling. I didn't know where my stress was in my body.
Right.
And so it affects all of our organs. So our liver, for example, holds anger, our kidneys, fear. And so when we're not connected, it causes these different issues, kidney stones, urinary problems, and so our entire body is connected to our feelings, but we're so numb that we don't know what we're feeling.
Right.
And so Tantra works a lot with connecting to your body, connecting to the organs, connecting to the chakras that's within us, to balance the different emotions, the different states, the different meridians that's throughout our body so that we can be healthy, happy, balanced lives.
So I think that a lot of times we're taught here to be strong. So it's like you said, you didn't want to tell anybody because you wanted to be strong. So have you been following it all? And I just saw it for 5 minutes because I don't even watch the news, how Meghan Markle said that she's stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's coming after her.
Right.
She's supposed to be a part of the monarchy. She's supposed to not tell these things. It's like almost a repeat of Princess Diana. If you ever look at her face, she looked miserable
Yes.
the entire time,
Yes.
you know?
Mhm.
And so they're giving her heat, you know, first because she's a Black woman, they're giving her heat, but then this just gives it more fuel to the
Yes.
fire. So it's like when you say that you're stressed out and when you say that something doesn't feel right,
Mhm.
you know, we are moving towards where they say check on your strong friends. I mean,
Mhm.
we're taking baby steps, which is
Right.
all beautiful, but still a lot of times within families or friend structures, people don't want to, you know, talk
Admit
about
how
it.
they're feeling.
They don't want to admit
it's a
it
weakness.
and talk about it,
Mhm.
right? And then for us Black women who have on that cape, you know,
Mhm.
we're like the strong Black woman, Black don't crack. But for those of you who've been in the sanctuary before, you know, I had a doctor on Dr. Kalita Forbes, and she talked about, yeah, Black does crack.
Yes.
And physiologically, we are 8 years older
Mhm.
than our white counterparts
Mhm.
because of the stress.
Mhm.
And then I had Dr. Jasmine Abrams on to talk about, you know, it's like the strong Black woman syndrome.
Mhm.
And if we don't face it, we can't heal it.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And so you can be stressed out. So what I'm learning after the Tantra is like I have a different lens now. Emotional
Mhm.
discharge.
Yes.
And so like you were saying, the animals, they get up, they shake it off and they do whatever, right?
Mhm.
I'm learning and I'm letting my daughter do the same thing. You know, people call it a tantrum. My daughter's almost 17, she'll be 17 in 2 weeks. But she had a situation that she was so upset that she just burst into tears in public
Mhm.
and would not like calm down for like 3 minutes.
Right.
I had other moms that were watching, but I just let her have that emotional discharge because
Mhm.
she needed
She
it.
needed that.
And I'm sitting there telling them she needs that
Mhm.
because otherwise it'll be repressed into her body.
Exactly.
And then she'll be an hour or 2, 3 months from now, still having carried that and trapped that in her body, but she got it out and she went on about her business.
Exactly. And we learn that, okay, if someone in our family passes away and the child is crying, the parent automatically says, don't cry, it's going to be okay. It's like, no, allow them to cry. Allow that child to cry. And when I lived in a Tantra commune, I remember we did an activity and I cried for 3 days straight.
Right.
And no one was like coming to me and saying, oh, it's going to be okay. They just allowed me to cry, you know, and just release. And so that's one of the things that I love about the tantric work is it's really allowing you to feel. It's no repression in any sense. And it's a matriarchal tradition, philosophy, you know?
Of course.
And so, and because women are natural healers. And so we're naturally tantric, you know? And so it's interesting, like, a lot of the work that we do is about releasing, shaking. So as I was saying, it's just shaking. A lot of the meditations, it's shaking, yelling, screaming, cathartic work.
Okay.
You know, so yes, like the animals in the wild, they shake, they release that traumas, but humans don't do that. You know, and that's one of the things that I love about trauma. And so about Tantra is, for me, because I didn't know how to be in a relationship. I didn't know how to have connections because, you know, my family, it was about, okay, making money so that we can survive and put food on the table, and you know, eat, get dressed, go to college. So it was all about surviving. It wasn't about let's show love, let's teach how to be in a relationship. Brazil, I found Tantra. It was just amazing to learn that, okay, there is a way to have connections with other people. There is a way to learn how to connect, hugging people, and it feels good to hold, making the eye contact, and learning how to be open.
And it's basic stuff that we're taught, I mean, that we are born to do. And then when you're 1 and 2, your parents are like, stop touching that.
Exactly.
Or don't do that. Or don't go there. Or stop running. Or whatever. And so then you just like, whoa, can't do anything, you know?
And in school as well, they teach you,
my goodness,
they really cut down your intuition. It's like, okay, you have to be able to prove this, rationalize everything. And so you can't be weak. You can't cry. You can't do this, you know, and it's, you just grow up. Can't, no.
Right. So let's talk about your experience in the commune and where was it? And what did you all, like, what was the day in the life of Prandhara in a Tantra commune?
That was interesting. So, a lot of my friends thought I was in a cult.
Yeah, I'm
They just
sure.
couldn't understand that, right? But it was actually amazing because living in the Tantra commune, we woke up, did tantric yoga every morning, 7 a.m. Then we worked in the commune in terms of, taking care of
Is this
making
all
sure.
women?
Men and women.
Okay.
Men and women.
Okay.
So it was great.
This is in
Brazil.
In Brazil.
So this was in
okay.
Minas Gerais, Brazil, which is not far from Sao Paulo.
Okay.
And so, so we had this routine structure, and everything was in the commune. We didn't really leave the commune. Unless we wanted to, go shopping or whatever.
Okay.
But for the most part, we were there. So we would work, do tantric yoga in the morning. Then we would go in and work on the commune, cooking, cleaning, just keeping everything organized. Then 5:30, we would have meditation.
Okay.
An active meditation. Then have leisure time, do whatever. And then we'd have a meditation at night, 9 p.m., or do tantric massage.
Okay.
So we would always do a tantric massage where 1 week we would receive, another week we would give.
Okay.
And it was really good because it was just so much body work.
Yeah.
We were learning how to connect to our body. Our entire body is orgasmic.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens, our body goes to sleep because we don't pay attention. We're not touching. Like you were saying earlier, we're touch deprived.
Right.
But we can have pleasure. We can have orgasms from our arms, our face, our nose, ears, feet, hands, our entire body.
Shane is like, dang.
So imagine having so much pleasure without even having to have sex, like just from touch.
Right.
And so with the tantric massage, it's awakening the bioelectricity that's within your body so that you can feel more pleasure. And since you like to read books, there's another guy named William Reich that talks about the function of the orgasm and sexuality and spirituality. Okay. And so he's really, really, really good. And he talks a lot about the bioelectricity within the body. And so actually 4 women having orgasms at the same time can actually turn on a light bulb. And so there was a study where he saw this, and so, what happens, we become conditioned, through watching porn and all these different things that we just focusing on just having sex and touching the genitals, and the rest of our body goes to sleep.
Right. So you were talking about sexual energy. So in my studies, before my studies, but it was a seed that was planted for me. I took my daughter to an entrepreneur class for children, for teens, right? Yes. And so this was just like a few years ago. And the teacher said that creative energy is sexual energy.
Yes.
And I was like, why are you telling my baby that? But I had never heard that concept before. And as he started to explain it, I was like, because he was talking to teenagers. He wasn't telling them to go out and have sex because you still have to have some safety. There's still boundaries you have to have as a young person with that. But he was like, use the energy to get your homework done.
Yes.
Use the energy to do your projects or to come up with the entrepreneurial pursuits that you have.
Exactly.
And I was already an entrepreneur at that time, a new one, but I was like, I'd never heard of that, to harness sexual energy to push your creative endeavors forward. So I started, I was already studying things. This was just another little seed. But then because I have so many womb issues, the sacral chakra was one that I knew was blocked.
Right.
I did my womb sauna, heal the womb intensive. I forget what the true name of it is. I did, what do you call it? Acupuncture. I've done all those things, but then I was just like, I had never considered the energetic part of it.
Right.
I had because I stopped eating. I did all those things, but now I'm moving to the energetic part of it. And then, so talk to us about that. Like, how does that happen? Because what I know it now, but I want you to explain it to the audience. It's like when you are in orgasm, you are closest to the creator.
Oh my God.
Yes. And some religious, spiritual systems and value systems will tell you going to hell if you believe that. So let's talk about that.
Yes. Yes. So when you think about it, when you're in your state of orgasm, you're in your purest state. You're not thinking about anything.
Right.
You're not worrying. You're not in a state of anxiety. Your mind is just in bliss. And that's what nirvana is. That's when you're able to actually connect to the creator and hear divine messages from the creator.
Right.
You know, and so that our sexual energy, yes, is creative energy. And that's that energy that we can use to create whatever you want, to manifest whatever you want. And so, you know, I'm always telling people when their sexual energy is blocked, to do creative work, to write poetry, to dance, to write, you know, to write music, whatever it is, because they are connected.
Right.
You know, and so so many people, and my belief is that when you look at Christianity, they talk to you and they say that sexual energy is bad, that when you're having sex is bad, because that's the way of dominating and controlling us.
Right.
And they know when you go into there's esoteric teachings, and what's the one that's more profound? I can't think of it right now. Esoteric, maybe. So anyway, so a lot of times they know that the sexual energy is the most powerful energy there is. Without that, none of us would be here.
Right.
Nothing would exist.
That's why I never could understand.
Right. So
Right.
it's the most powerful. And so it's like, okay, so if everyone was seated in their power, was rooted in their power, oh my God.
Right.
We wouldn't need to buy drugs
Right.
because we would be happy. So we
Right.
wouldn't need medicine. We wouldn't be spending all this money to buy Louis Vuitton purses, a BMW, a Porsche, because we
Right.
would be satisfied.
Right.
So we have to, the system is set up to control and dominate us and make sure that we're unhappy and that we have this lack.
And that we give our power to other people or to
Exactly.
somebody in the sky.
Exactly. So that's what we're doing. We're spending all of this money, buying all of these different things, trying to catch up with the Joneses, who's not satisfied, who's not happy.
Right.
And that was one of the things that made me decide I need to leave.
Right.
I'm caught up in a system and I'm not happy here. This,
Right.
you know, it's not doing anything for me.
Right.
And there's so much more to life, you know? And so I didn't want to get caught up in being 80 years old, taking all these different medications for, you know, heart, high blood pressure, asthma, cholesterol, all of these different things that you see in our society. So
Right.
many of the older people are on these medications.
Yeah. Well, I mean, young people are.
And young people.
You know, my certification is in nutrition, holistic nutrition, integrative nutrition, but I have expanded it to anything that nourishes the body, mind, body, spirit. And people are on all types of medication, and diabetes is now a pandemic, which is, it's all over the world.
Yes.
You know, and especially for us. So it's just one of those things where, and then you said that the liver is anger and the kidney is fear, right? A lot of times we have a lot of kidney disease and liver disease in the Black community, in the African community, melanated community, whatever you want to call us. And because we repress so many things, and it's damaging our organs. It's damaging our body. So it's interesting. You were talking about movement and sexuality and then the balancing of feminine and masculine energy. So shout out to Tama Aziz Serwa from the Womb Sauna. When I would go sit on her pot, do vaginal steaming, she did this test. It was just basically, you know, you're standing on one leg or on the other leg to see where your energy is. My energy was more in the masculine.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out how to not even dispel, just recalibrate, because I need both of the energies. I just need them recalibrated so that they're more balanced. How to balance myself. So I started taking belly dance.
Oh, amazing.
And my teacher is Mayasa Telfair. She's amazing. I love her so much because she taught me so much about being feminine just in the class.
Yes.
Because I mean, I can dance, I could bob my head, I could do them 2 steps, but when it was time to just be feminine and move my body, she would just look at me with so much pity and laugh, because she was like, gentle. Because even still in that movement before, I was like a robot, right? So then, then moving my hips and all those things, when you're in depending on your value system, when you're in them systems, they tell you that's the devil.
Right.
They tell you shouldn't be moving like that.
Right.
So then you were like, I shouldn't be moving. Even though your body humanly, that's how we're made. We're made to
Mhm.
move. And then when you hear, especially people of African descent, when you hear that beat,
Mhm.
you want to move.
Yes.
And so I've taken her class for like a year, and then she just started back up like last Sunday. So I was there. It was therapy.
Mhm.
It was like healing for me because
Yes.
now I'm aware. And so now even if I'm out and about, I'm more feminine.
Yes.
Based on the Tantra classes that I've taken and based on her teaching and Tama's teaching and all the teachers that I have,
Beautiful.
I can go out into the world and I'm talking simple stuff, letting somebody hold the door for me.
Right.
I'm a single mom. I just bust that joint open and keep it moving.
Right.
But, one of my friends was like, don't you touch that door. Didn't even think about it. But
Right.
now I'm like, who's going to open the door for me?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Such a beautiful process.
Yes.
And it's so important. The hip movements is so important because we hold a lot of our traumas in our hip area, in our vagina area, the yoni area, the ovaries, the womb, it holds a lot.
Right.
So it's important to do the belly dance movement, gyrating the hips back, remember Luke Skywalker and the booty.
Right.
It's important for us to do because we're releasing those traumas that's there too.
Right.
Going back again to needing to shake, like the animals in the wild. You see cats and dogs, they're shaking, and so they're releasing that stuff. And so as we're releasing the hips, we're releasing those traumas that's stored in our hip area.
Right.
And it's essential to do.
So for Tantra, what are the top 3 things you can tell us? Because I want to move to rebirthing.
Yes. Okay.
And then I want to move to expatriatism. Is that a word? So tell us 3 things about Tantra, maybe 3 little shifts that somebody could make to tap more in. Everybody hears about mindfulness and people are getting into the yoga movement and getting to all these movements, but what can you tell people?
So Tantra is so complicated to be able to explain. It's something that you have to live, you have to experience to understand. So Tantra is really about becoming present, focused, and aware of your body.
Okay.
Tantra is breath work. Breath is life.
Breath is life.
And Tantra, connection. So just to sum up Tantra, connection, breath, and just being focused, present, and aware in your body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does rebirthing mean? And you got certified in it, but I didn't even know that. I think I knew that was a thing, but for the listeners who don't know, it's a thing. Well, what does that mean? So
rebirthing is a series of breath work to really allow you to tap into other states of consciousness.
Okay.
There's people who go into past lives, see different things that they need to heal, need to work on. And it really is just through breath work to release the traumas and blockages in your body. And when you come out of a rebirthing session, you feel reborn.
Okay. So I don't think it was rebirthing. I don't know what the name of it is. You might know the name of it, but it was when people take you into the water. And
there is a rebirthing in the water.
Okay.
There's water rebirthing.
Okay, so I think I did the water rebirthing, right? So I'm in Bali, right? And I'm Prandhara is going to Bali in December. So I too went on a eat, love, pray, right? I went to Africa, but then I also went to Southeast Asia. And in Bali, I'm just sitting. So I stayed at a woman's healing house in Ubud, in Canggu, actually. And all women. So every morning we would get up and we would go eat breakfast in the morning. And this lady, I had never seen her before. She was this Indian woman and younger than me. And she was just talking to me. And as we started to talk, she was telling me that she does this rebirthing. Yes. So now for those who have followed me at all, you know that I'm adopted, right? And so I'm adopted and I'm feeling like this nature versus nurture thing is happening. I'm feeling things and I don't really have a connection to know all the things about my biological family yet. And so she was just like, that doesn't matter. I can take you in the water and then it'll be like going to your mom's womb again. Yes. And then you come out, different, right? Yes. So we get in this pool. And I'm in this pool because we couldn't get to the ocean that day. Something was going on. So we get in this pool at our woman's healing house. So she's just taking me down. Now I have been claustrophobic all my life. And I'm not necessarily afraid of water, but it's not my fave.
Right.
I grew up on the Jersey Shore. I went to the beach all the time. You know, I took the YMCA classes, but I'm not a fish in water. And so I was just like, you know, a little clunky. She was just like, trust me. I also got trust issues.
Right.
So I'm trying to like, this lady, she has me on my back. I'm in the water. She has my nose covered and she keeps taking me down. And she tells me when she's going to take me down.
Right.
And so she said that, well, she kept telling me to relax, but I couldn't, right? So at some point, because now I'm a production manager. I did production for 25 years. So I'm the who, what, where, why, when. I got to be in control. The ego is just like, then I'm a Scorpio. I'm in control. So at one point, it was kind of an overcast day. At one point, the sun came out. And I told myself, just let it go. Like you all the way out here in Bali, let it go. Right. So right at that moment, she took me under and I could see the sun come through the water. And I saw my maternal grandmother from Cameroon. I didn't see her face. I felt her presence.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm going to break this curse.
Beautiful.
I'm going to break this whole situation that we have going on.
Yes.
And there's a lot of layers. And then I just came back up out of the water. Now before then, and then I felt peaceful. And so my eyes were closed. I could feel the sun on my face. It had been overcast the whole time. Just for that, like 3 minutes, the sun came out right into my face. I'm in the water. I'm chilling. Because before that lady was like, I'm about to quit you because you know too much. I know that's what she was thinking. And then I came out and then I was just like, I knew it was for me.
Yes.
To be the one to, and it's not the first time I've been tasked with it. Like I did my DNA. I traced back to Cameroon. The ambassador of Cameroon gave me the name Goizam, which is the beloved one.
Beautiful.
Like I'm the one who is here to break up this shit.
Yes.
And there's a lot of shit, you know what I'm saying? So rebirthing, I don't necessarily feel like I was rebirthed, but I felt like I was given a task. And so.
Yes, and that could happen. And so the rebirthing that I do a different technique.
Okay.
Which is by Leonard Orr. And so you have the rebirthing in the water.
Okay.
And you have the one that I do, which is through breath work, which can also be done in the water.
Okay.
So, but I have done ovarian breathing in the water, which is very similar. There's so many different things.
There's so many things. Everybody's trying to heal. Right.
And so, so with the rebirthing, with the breath work that I do, that same experience could happen.
Okay.
Just through the breath work, because your breathing is very powerful. And so what we're doing is circular breathing, and there's no pauses in between. So you're taking in more oxygen than you would normally take.
Okay.
And so when you're taking in large amounts of oxygen, it begins to change the cellular DNA, which allows you to access different states of consciousness.
Okay.
And so through it, you come out, and a lot of times I'll play womb sounds.
Okay.
And so sometimes people actually go back into their mother's womb.
Well, that was what her point was. Her point was like, consider myself being back into the womb of my biological mother because I'm adopted. So go back into that space and then heal whatever happened when I was going on, whatever was going on in that womb. Because like, you know, and like you've talked about, you know, I felt every single thing that my biological mother was experiencing imprinted into my DNA.
Yes.
Now I'm adopted, so she wasn't going to have me. She wasn't keeping me. So in my mind and in the mind of many adoptees, that's rejection. So I was feeling rejected for the first 10 months of my life energetically before I even was born.
Yes.
So she took me back to there, or her intention was to take me back to there and to kind of attempt to heal whatever was happening, whatever I imprinted on me from the womb. Now it didn't work. Right now, I still, you know, and it's been 2-3 years. I don't feel like that because I still have some of those things, but that's the work that I'm doing now is to release that.
Yeah. So I want to interject with, you know, when you say didn't work. So, so you're doing a lot of things, and this is the whole process. And I think so many of us, we want things to happen right away. Yeah. And so a lot of times things are working within our body and even in an energetic level, but you're not necessarily feeling it at that time. And so in the future, culmination of all the different things that you're doing, you're going to see the results of all of it. So everything is a process. So it's just trusting and knowing that you did everything you were supposed to do.
Right.
And nothing happens.
Right. Because I was going to say, that lady was never at that place. She just happened to be at the pancake spot at the top of and we talked.
Right.
So divine.
And we have a saying in Brazil, nada por acaso. Nada por acaso, nothing for any cause. So it's like everything happens for a reason, you know. And so,
and I know it.
And so many, we want to change instantly. Like, I need to be healed right now, and, you know,
because you be tired,
and it's tiring. The struggle is real.
Yeah,
but it's a slow process, and I'm still doing my work.
Right.
I'm still doing my work, and sometimes I'm like, damn, I haven't changed. But then when I really go back and I look, I'm like, I did change. I could see the difference, and I could see how I can acknowledge what I'm feeling differently. I can see how I'm more open and I'm able to make myself more vulnerable, which before I couldn't.
Right.
It's scary to make yourself vulnerable.
It is.
And I see how, you know, and so I see the little changes, and it continues to be a process day by day.
It is.
And it's continuing to do the work, you know.
So that's a lot. Everybody take a breath. Okay. So let's talk about, well, I do have a question about Tantra, and then I want to go to your journey as an expat and how you experience life over in Brazil as an American.
Yes.
You know, because I've traveled and people still know I'm American, but I've always been welcome. So I would just like to know that. But so for Tantra, when you're doing tantric massage, and then even in our class, we did energy exchange.
Yes.
I was worn out.
Right.
Because I had never done that before. But is it true that only a male should do Tantra on a woman on the table and vice versa?
So you have,
because of the polar.
Yeah. So you have different thoughts on that.
Okay.
So there are people who say that. I don't agree with that. I do tantric massage. I do energy work with other women, with men, with everyone.
Okay.
And in my teaching, it's a mix because we all have Shakti, Shiva energies.
Right. Male,
so male, female. So Shakti is a female energy. Shiva is the male energy.
Right.
And so there's some people who say, oh, it has to be a male, physical male working with a woman. No, because like for me, for example, I've always had more masculine energy than female energy.
Right.
And it's always a constant work to balance. So if I'm working with the female, you know, it's still it's still polarized. Okay. And they're getting the healing that they need. So when you're doing tantric sex for healing, the lingam is the word for penis, yoni for vagina, right? So if you look at, there's a reflexology on the penis and in the vagina. And so the points of where the anger is on the penis matches exactly where it is in the vagina. So when the penis is going into the vagina, the energetic points will match up, and so you can do healing. Right. But again, you have people who are homosexual, bisexual. You can still do the healing even if you don't have a male, female, and you want to do tantric healing sex. Gotcha. So it doesn't have to be opposite sex. There's so many different ways to heal.
I'm glad you said that. And I'm glad that, you said that, because I heard that and that's kind of like not drilled into me how I was taught, but that was just something that was put out there. But I also, one of the people who was not a part of the class, but a part of the sessions, said to be careful because he says, like, some people just like to see you squirm on the table. And that scared the crap out of me, because then I'm just like, every daggone little community, you always got somebody that's trying to play you out,
There is. And I tell people all the time, like, when you're going to do tantric work, you have to really, or any type of work for that matter, you have to interview the person. You have to make sure that they're coming from a good place, because there's some people who just want to get their rocks off and have sex. Right. You got Barney now, who's the guy that played Barney for all these years. He's doing tantric.
I heard about that.
Yeah,
I did.
And so he's one of those who's like, it's only a male can heal a female. Gotcha. And he does the whole tantric sex to heal people. You don't have to have sex to heal.
Right.
You don't.
Right.
There's so many different ways that you can work with the sexual energy without having tantric sex to heal. And you can have a woman who's coming who's been sexually abused, raped. She's not going to be able to accept healing from a man. She doesn't trust him yet.
Right.
So she's going to need a woman who she can feel safe with and open up with to do that work. And then maybe later she can go to a male practitioner to help her. But it doesn't have to be the opposite sex to help you.
Okay. You've made me feel better about that. Okay. So let's move on because we have like 10 minutes left probably, give or take, as far as Jessica's face says. So we, life as an expat, an expatriate, somebody who is from one country, but they live in another country.
Yes.
How did you decide? What was the deciding factor that you out? And then what did your parents say and your family?
So it was so crazy because honestly, I never really decided to move and live in Brazil. It was me doing this year, Eat, Pray, Love journey. And it was just like, like I said earlier, I knew that I couldn't be in this system. I wasn't fulfilled. It was just so much stress. Underlying, I wasn't happy. My body was breaking down. And I remember I had this naturopathic doctor, Dr. Karen Davis. Shout out to Dr. Karen Davis. She was amazing. She was like, Renee, you can no longer go like this. Your body is shutting down. Because I had my psychotherapy practice. I worked for the Montgomery County Crisis Center overnight. And it was just like doing. And so after reading the Eat, Pray, Love book, I decided, okay, I'm going to go do this. And when I got to Brazil, just by chance, like I just fell in love with Brazil.
Okay.
I fell in love with the people, the culture, how open they were, and how it was so different from living here in the US where people we didn't have that repression. And so even though people struggled and it was difficult there and there was poverty, people knew how to have fun.
Right. Okay.
People would laugh and they would open you, open and welcome you with open arms. They would invite you to their home. We would dance and we would sing, and life was just so different.
Okay.
And so Brazilians there, they were very touchy-feely, and I wasn't used to that. I was not used to, touching, hugging, and all of this. And it just felt so good. And I just began to really just feel joy and happy. I mean, people would be like, well, you always look like you were happy. Yeah, I enjoyed life, but it was just different.
Right.
And it's just hard to explain. And so I could be stressed in Brazil, but then somebody's going to come and hug me and touch me, and they're going to talk, or I could just go to the beach and I could relax. And the culture there is that of healing. So I do so much healing work. I can go and do meditation. I can go and do yoga. I can do acupuncture. And it's in my time. Whereas when I lived here, I didn't have time to do my self-care work.
Right.
You're working, and that's the focus.
Or you're sitting in traffic. Right.
Or you're sitting in traffic.
Right.
And you're stressed out.
Right.
So
it's interesting because the week I went to Kemet for 2 weeks in 2016, and I went on a Saturday, but the Friday was when the two gentlemen people got shot on TV, like on Facebook. I can't think of the names. Philando Castile was one, and somebody else was another, but they happened one on a Friday, one on a Saturday, or one on a Thursday, one on a Friday.
Man.
And then the Dallas shooting, where they tried to say the African-American dude was the one who shot at the cops. Who knows if he really did or not. So everything was going crazy, right?
Right.
So we fly to Kemet, and it's just like, it was peaceful.
Yes.
And we went there to what they call have a metamorphosis. Shout out to Tony Browder, to have to change our minds, to be able to relax and breathe.
Yes.
And I just disconnected from that. I don't really watch TV that much anyway, but I disconnected from all the energy of the US because I just needed to preserve my peace of mind.
Yes.
Because I was pissed off. I was sad. I mean, Mike Brown and all that stuff had already happened. These were just the next two. And so I remember just being there and everybody being so welcoming.
Yes.
They called me cousin. They were calling me Queen Latifah. They were like, Obama, they were just so just nice.
And
you
that's
know?
what they do in Brazil,
Yeah,
you know? And it's like, and the little kids on the street, they're like, auntie, you know, they call you auntie. I don't know this little kid, but he's like, auntie, you know?
Right.
And it's that familial connection, and you feel like you live in a community.
Right.
You know, and so everyone would know me by name. And, you know, my last place that I lived in Maryland, I didn't even know my neighbors' names.
I don't even know mine now.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, we knew each other.
Right.
You know, we supported each other. And so if I needed something, I knew, you know, they would come and they would help. I would go, I could help my neighbors. We would have dinner together sometimes.
Right.
And it was just beautiful, you know, and as an expat, you know, we're privileged, unfortunately, for the Brazilians, but, you know, and it's hard to be in that. Sometimes I'm like, man, I'm really privileged. And living in the States, I don't feel that at all.
Right.
You know, but it is a reality because I'm an American in Brazil. I'm going to get special treatment. And so, and I feel bad for the natives, you know, but like if I go to the doctor hears that I'm American. So they're going to make sure they're doing everything the best that they can,
right?
You know? And so, you know, so that's another thing that you have. And also the expats, we also connect with other expats.
Yeah.
And so the expat community tends to be very strong. And when I lived in Salvador, who I'm actually staying with now, it's one of the ladies that I met in Salvador. And that's like one of my girls. We had this bond.
Right.
It was a bunch of us sisters together who, you know, sometimes we didn't know when we were going to have food on our table because we were struggling too, you know, in that sense. But we were there for each other and we supported each other. And this group of sisters, one year we got married together. We married ourselves.
Oh.
But we traveled to this an hour away, like this island, and we were at the beach, and we did these little ceremonies where we married ourselves, and we did it together, and it was just so beautiful. And it's that connection that you have when you live there, with the other expats, with the people of that country, They really.
So Chiang Mai, you've been to Chiang Mai, and that's in Thailand. They have the Black Packers.
Yes.
And so my girlfriend Kedra, shout out to Soror Kedra, she's a part of the Black Packers. And so they have their own community, and they
Sunday
do their
dinners.
own thing. And Sunday dinners.
I went.
Yes. What is it? The Trap House or something like that. And the girls are from DC.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, the world is very small. We're a global society, but we're small, especially the internet changed the whole game. It just brings us in closer. And so that is something to consider. You know, there are a lot of people who are doing it. I think Ghana was a place that people went in the 60s and the 70s.
Yes.
Asia and other places are where people are going now. But, you know, you don't have to stay.
Right.
You know, I know I don't have to stay. I'm just lining myself up.
Right. And I think that's the thing. So many people are afraid of leaving. They think, how am I going to support myself? How am I going to do? But it really is, you are able to support yourself. And most people who are American and they live in another country, they start off teaching English. And it's really easy to make money, to, you know, have your income, because everybody wants to learn English.
Right.
And then once you start learning that language, you can start doing your work. And so in the beginning, I was teaching English. And then once I learned Portuguese, I started doing my healing work as a Reiki master. Now I teach Tantra there, you know, do tantric massage, do my psychotherapy. So, and it's easy because it's like you're kind of out of the system.
Right.
And I'm so off the grid now. It's just like,
I need to be off the grid.
And it's so beautiful. It's so amazing to be off the grid.
I'm coming to visit, Renee.
Come.
April, I'm trying to come.
April, we have our
right. Go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah. So April, we have the Sacred Sisters Soul Retreat for women of color. And I do that specifically because Brazil is a magical place. It's a healing place. And just so many synchronicities happen. And it's just so
what
beautiful.
y'all gonna do? Oh,
girl, we gonna do. we do a lot of work. 3 minutes. Okay, so really quick. We do a lot of work for women of color to release the traumas, the blockages that's in. We do different exercises. We do belly dance. We're moving the hips. We look, we connect, we do self-exploration to connect to your body, you know, so it's really important that women of color do this work to release those traumas. So come in April. Next year is going to be April 4th to the 12th,
Okay.
2020. We also have in August. August is for men and women,
Okay.
where we focus more on learning how to build intimacy and connections within yourself, but also within partners,
Okay.
within other people. And August is going to be August 1st to the 8th, 2020.
Okay. So Sacred Sisters Soul Retreat on IG is what I put. So you guys can go to Instagram and check out Prandhara's information there. Sign up. I'm going. I just put it out there. I gotta have a little orgasm so I can manifest my money.
Yes.
And
Masturbating. Sacred Sister Soul Retreat. Sacred Sister.
Yep.
And so it is.
And then I'll be there, right? So we cracking Jessica up. And then Prandhara Prem. Now, how did you get that name?
That was my initiation in my Tantra commune that I lived. And Prandhara Prem means to go with the flow of love and life.
To go with the flow. Okay, I'm learning that. And we did that today because our technicals were messed up, but we did it. So we got a treat. She will be back for another episode with her partner to talk about the retreat. So we'll talk about that at another time. So stay tuned to the sanctuary. We have just like about 1 minute left. So thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you came.
Thank you for having me.
Please look her up and learn more about Tantra and learn more about ways to just be and be in your body and be connected and things like that. It can change your life. It totally changed my life. And then I also want to remind you that my book is on sale at wendycherry.com/book. And it really is about my journey. And it's like I do all these. This is my 41st episode of the Sanctuary Radio Show, but it kind of like talks about all the experiences that brought me to this point. So please check it out. And then we will see you next time in the sanctuary. Thank you for joining us. Please share. Please like. Peace.